we have the Secretary General joining us virtually from Lusaka in Zambia, where she's been going around the continent telling us about her observation, especially in this era of finding new trade partners and, with the geopolitics going on. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Rebecca Greenspan. And how has it been going around the continent? What's your experience? What has it been like?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I am really happy to be in the continent. You know, this is a continent with a lot of energy, with a lot of vision for the future. You can feel it here, you know, the young people, the optimism with respect to the economy going forward. So it's great to be in Africa.
Yeah, so I mean, so even I'm sure even before now, yeah, the future of markets is in Africa. It's going to be the most populated. The resources are here. Have you been able to interact with a few Africans in your journey round? Have you observed anything in your interaction to either buttress or not, the notion that the future is on the continent?
Yes, I was first in the summit of the African Union, and I heard the leaders speaking about the economy and their plans for the future. The African Free Trade area is a very important part of the possibilities for Africa to scale up, to enter better in the value chains at the global level, and to take advantage of their very big wealth in critical minerals, trying to avoid falling again into a commodity dependence path. So value addition and adding value to the critical minerals production and not only focus on extraction is one of the main points looking at the future.
Well, I was going to go to value addition later on, but I'm so glad you brought it up because it seems to be the biggest weakness of the continent, or the weakest link in the link of value chain. The resources are there, even the human resources are there, but adding value, what would you say can really kickstart it or accelerate value addition on the continent for the different countries?
I would say that there are three main points. One is deliberate strategies, because it won't happen by itself. Yes, not by the invisible hand. You need industrial strategies for it. You need a vision for the future. Second, a conversation, a dialogue with the private sector. We need to understand what are the obstacles for the private sector to really diversify and industrialize. And third, obviously, you have to believe that this is possible. And good advice is to go back in detail into the productive structure, to know where are the capacities, what is it, at what level of product that you can compete in the markets, take into account what is going to be bought outside, where is the demand. We have done that for Zambia and for Namibia, and we have found more in Zambia, more than 400 products that could be produced by Zambia to the markets based on what they're already doing and the capabilities and the possibilities that are on the ground.
So, I mean, in the midst of the change, in your last statement, you did talk about the change and what's going on, forging new frontiers and everything. What opportunities, especially, we call it low-hanging fruits, those that are just so easy to be picked at this time. What are the opportunities, the low-hanging fruit for the continent in the area of trade and value addition?
Well, obviously, the value chains with respect to the energy transition are very important, and I think that there lies a huge capacity for the African continent, where most of the minerals that are necessary for the energy transition are. Also, you have to go for agro-business. Obviously, the agriculture sector continues to be very important, and so agribusiness is there. And there is a need to develop high-quality services for the digital economy. I think that at least these three sectors are very important for the growth and development of Africa in the future, to create the quality jobs that the new generations and the young people need.
And you also you commented on the AGOA renewal of AGOA and the opportunities and the sectors that this could boost activities on. Could you share what you see from AGOA, the renewed one?
Well, for example, in AGOA has been very important, yes, because it's the open access to the US market. It's true that it has been extended only for this year, and we are advocating for a longer term extension because investment needs more predictability, and 1 year is not enough, but it's a good sign going forward. It's a good step forward. And AGOA affects especially textile manufacturing, for example. That is one of the sectors that have benefited more from AGOA, and a lot of the formal employment and the women employment are in the sectors that AGOA allows free access to the US. So it's very important that manufacturing has been developing in the continent and is small with respect to the American market, but is very important to the countries that export to the US.
And you mentioned manufacturing then, of course, agriculture and all of that. When you look at Nigeria, I'm in Nigeria, so forgive me if I want to zero into it. What do you see for the opportunities and, the plan, the trend currently, and what it should be?
Well, I would say the same as I said before. First of all, Nigeria is a huge country with a very strong economy, but the economy is based mainly on oil. And so you need to diversify because that sector is not going to produce the quality jobs for the new, for the young people, for the new generations. This is people that is more educated, that have more aspirations of becoming part of the middle classes of the world. And so diversification of the economy is very important. It's not bad to have oil and to have an economy that can be stabilized by that commodity. But if you don't diversify, if manufacturing and this industrialization is not coming strong into the economy, it will be very difficult to maintain, dynamic growth and job quality production for the future. So we have to go away from the commodity dependence that have made our economies more volatile and more fragile. We have to come into agreements with the other countries. So regional integration is very important to extend the markets, to have economies of scale, and to be able to benefit from the global economy and the global market. So industrial policy, diversification, and trade agreements, integration in Africa is, a very important part of the game.
All right, thank you so much for that. And you also, one of your statements says supply chains are adjusting rather than disappearing. Could you help us understand what you mean by that?
Yeah, in the geopolitics of today, where tariffs went up and the system really received a shock, we saw in 2025 a very resilient growth and trade result. And this is really, very surprising because we expected trade to be more affected. So part of the reason why we saw this resilience in trade is that the private sector adjusts. This is like water that, trade is like water that goes in all the directions that are allowed. So the supply chains adjust, but they didn't disappear. Interdependence on trade didn't disappear. We just found new ways of doing it. And one of the very interesting indicators that we have put forward is that South-South trade did grow at a rate of 8% in 2025. So part of the engine of growth of the global trade was precisely South-South trade. So that's why we say regionalism is back, integration is important, trade agreements are important, and that have constituted part of the resilience of the global economy and international trade during 2025.
You also said that, the continent should not, or emerging economies generally, should not resist change. What change should the economies, the emerging economies, be preparing for, and how should they be preparing for it?
Well, industrial policy is back for the emerging economies. This is very important. And we have to take the opportunities that the trade environment gives us. And in trade, we are seeing that the sectors that are growing the most are services, the green economy, green trade, and also digital and artificial intelligence related trade. So those are the sectors that are growing the most, and our economies will have to have the policies to build the infrastructure, the skills, and the governance necessary to enter with a strong fit into the new world.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate. I hope you get to eat some African dishes. I would have said Nigerian if you were in Nigeria. We have a lot of chili, dishes. Have you been able to taste any of those?
I really struggle with that. But the food is delicious.
All right, but it's so good to have you on the continent. Thank you so much. Secretary General of the United Nations Trade and Development, Ms. Rebecca Greenspan. Thank you for your time and sharing your perspective with us on the program.